You know.
Well, and I think there are many organizations, Tony, that don't dig deep enough or think deep enough from a management standpoint to understand that these are things that they can do that will enhance the bottom line for that organization. And you know that some of the businesses and organizations that I've been working with, for example, we talk about, and it becomes, you know, a new four-letter word for them, and that is flow, and understanding not only flow but understanding how it relates to process, and of course it's the wonderful marriage of being able to do that.
Mm-hmm. Well, flow is one catalyst. Another one, in addition to emotional intelligence, which we did talk about before, is strengths. And you know, it's a generic word often that we throw around a lot, but in this context we mean it in a very specific way. In early 2000, I think it was 2002, 2001, I was completing some doctoral work at Azusa Pacific University in California, and I had the privilege of meeting and working closely with Chip Anderson. And Chip Anderson was one of the early fathers of the strengths movement. And he had come from 30-plus years working in the psychology department at UCLA, and he was just one of those teachers where you just never forget. And one of the teachers where you know, they may not appear to be highly prepared, you know, with notes, but when they speak, you just have no choice but to sit there and write and ponder and do the same thing. You know, when you leave the class and you find yourself in your room or at dinner, you know, it's just one of those things. He was one of those guys, and he really challenged me to reconsider how I viewed myself, how I viewed leadership, how I viewed education, and it's been really fascinating over the years to begin looking at people and processes and change through the lenses of a strengths-based approach. And you know, you and I, again, we've talked about this a lot, especially within the context of education early on. And we found ways to incorporate a strengths-based approach to helping students identify maybe what was the right major, right career. And we found several of the students that we worked with where we were using a strengths-based approach to student advising. We found many of them to be a lot less likely to change majors, which would have ended up costing them a great deal more money in tuition. And we found many of them finding themselves in very meaningful careers very quickly. And rather than going through a kind of a trial and error process of, no, maybe I'm going to try this major. I did this and I really don't like it. It's not for me. Maybe I'll try this. People began approaching their academics and their career preparation with a great deal of intentionality.
Well, and you know, and when higher ed institutions do that, when businesses and nonprofits do that up front, they are, guess what they're doing? You know, they are setting the tone for a schedule for greater success for students, greater success for their employees, and doing it in such a way that it reinforces that I am in the right place at the right time, and in other words, going back to a term we used earlier in the program, and that is we've got fit. And, and we know that it's the various colleges and universities that we've all been involved with over the last 15, 20 years, and where we have been able to use it with support from institutional support, we know that it works.
And one of the things that I really like about this is that this idea of strengths really says to that person, you know what, first of all, I have strengths, and I'm okay.
Yeah.
You know, I'm okay. This is who I am, and this is what differentiates me from every other person on this planet. So now that I have this understanding of this, what does this mean for me professionally? What does this mean for me personally? How might I live my life and chart my professional career differently with that information? You know, Don Clifton was, he's the one that developed the StrengthsFinder instrument, which we've used extensively over the years. And prior to that, he was working as a headhunter and working with major companies all across the world, helping them find the right talent for their positions. And he felt that, like, if you want to replicate success in organizations, you need to study success. And he identified some key elements after looking at, you know, what these successful employees do and how organizations could recruit more of them. He found out that the best of the best build their lives around their strengths.
Right.
The best of the best manage weaknesses. So they are aware of them. We're not ignoring weaknesses, but they manage them. The best of the best creatively invent ways to take their strengths into areas in life where they want to achieve. The best of the best do not possess more strengths than others, but they may be more adept at developing and applying them. Doug, you and I have worked for years with students, with organizations, with CEOs, helping them identify their strengths, affirming their strengths. We've provided tools to help them develop their strengths. And then the real fun part is helping them strategically channel those strengths in meaningful ways to help them advance their goals, their objectives, their mission, that type of thing. And I think it's been a very rewarding thing to do.
Well, you know, it's one of the things that motivates me on a week-to-week basis to get up out of bed, and that is to be able to help grow. And one of the things that, because of my life experiences and the length of my life experiences, I'm now finding it wonderful to be able to go in and coach young entrepreneurs, business leaders, community leaders, governmental leaders in a way that maximizes their strengths, lets them know that there's no one strength more important or better than another, going in and helping them figure out how they can draw strength, double entendre there, from their strengths in a way that makes them more marketable, but also within the context of their organization, figure out a way to be able to do that and to grow the, you know, as you said, the mission or the organization.
Well, when we talk next time, we're going to spend a lot of time looking at strengths specifically. We're going to identify strengths. We're going to talk about what this means for a person who may have specific strengths and what they can do with it. But I want to, as we prepare to wrap up here, I'd like to read a quote from Don Clifton that I really think is interesting. He says, "A leader needs to know his strengths as a carpenter knows his tools, or as a physician knows the instruments at her disposal. What great leaders have in common is that they each truly knows his or her strengths and can call on the right strength at the right time." And with that, we are going to pick this conversation up next time, and it's always a pleasure to
Always,
talk.
sir. Always, sir. Thank you, Tom.
And thank you for joining us on this edition of The Reflective Leader.